Hitting more back and down the lines will automatically give you free wins and easy wins in his matches. So why is it such an important shot? Because it's unexpected and it takes opponent by surprise. Most people think that the backhand is the shot that's weak, that you can't do any damage with. It's just like your shield and your forehand's the sword. Problem is that when people think like that, they're gonna expect you to hit your back cross court, right? They expect you to just try to be consistent with it, try to make the ball back. However, if you were to take this, flip the script, go down the line, they're gonna be unexpected. They're gonna be immediately on the run. Trust me, they're gonna be immediately on the run, and you can easily just get the huge advantage in the point. If you were to utilize this in your match, this is so underutilized. If you were to use this in your match, you get free wins. So how to use this shot properly? Well, you first need to make sure that when you're hitting this shot, you gotta step in the court. If you're behind the baseline and you're going aggressive down the line with your backhand, chances are you're probably gonna miss that, right? Unless you go for like some absurd like margin, but then you're not gonna do much damage with it. So you gotta make sure you're stepping in. Ideally, you're inside the baseline. If you're higher level, you know who you are. You can maybe not follow these rules exactly, and you also want to make sure that the ball isn't like a slice, not like too low. If it's too low, you have to like lift up on it. And lifting up on it, if you try to go aggressive with it, you're probably gonna go like net or gonna go out. You gotta make sure that's not happening. Also, if you notice your opponent guarding their backhand, especially the opponent like a one-hand backhand or opponent which is a bad backhand, they're gonna be guarding their backhand, they're gonna be moving to that side right after they hit their other shot. Then when you gotta create space for you to go down the line. When you go down the line here, you gotta make sure you aim for the big margins. You gotta make sure you have decent net clearance. Aim for the big margins. You don't go wide. You cannot go wide on the shot. It's better to go long because it puts pressure on your opponent, right? At least you're like doing something with the ball. Go wide, it's like, oh yeah, you just missed because you weren't targeting well. Also, if you want to hit the shot behind the baseline, still feasible hit behind the baseline. You should definitely do it because you need to move your opponent around, right? It's easier for your opponent to hit. Let's say even if there's like a one and backhand, like a really bad backhand, if you keep them in one corner, they're gonna be able to play well. Like you just be able to get the rhythm. But if you move them around, their shots gonna be a lot worse. That's like the number one thing. You have to make sure you move your opponent around. So if you're behind the baseline, make sure you put height on the ball. You can hit the ball down the line and then move them around. Get running forehand. Running forehand is actually like the second most shot that's most commonly missed. Second most running forehand. Running backhand is the number one. You also want to make sure you don't spam the shot. You don't like every single time they hit your backhand, you go down the line. That's not gonna then that takes away the unexpected and surprise effect, right? You're gonna make sure you bide your time, wait for the right opportunity, then you go for the shot. So why is this shot so underutilized? If I'm saying it's a secret weapon that's gonna get you easy match wins. Well, most people aren't confident in their backhand, right? You know, like Felix Mishker is like pretty famous example of this. Every video he talks about as like working on his backhand. His backhand is like not good. Well, if you carry that mindset, like oh my backhand's horrible, you're not gonna be able to do that shot. Which is why most people like don't have the confidence. They rather just make the ball in, look for the forehand and attack. However, you're gonna be different. You're gonna be different, okay? You're gonna be the one that's gonna be using the backhand to attack, not like fitting in with like the rest of the people. Also, the belief that the backhand down the line is risky. Well, backhand down the line is risky, but that's depending on how much risk you take on, right? If you're aiming for the lines and the ball's like you're way behind the baseline, chances are you're probably gonna miss the shot. But if you take steps to reduce this risk, then it becomes an advantage because you're doing damage while still making sure that you have a good chance of hitting the ball in, right? Like I said earlier about making sure stepping in, high over net, that kind of stuff. So what to do against someone using the shot against you? So you might make sure to keep your shot deep. Like I said earlier, if you're way behind the baseline, there's not much you can do about the shot. For example, let's say you're way behind the baseline. Even if you were to make the shot down the line, an aggressive down the line shot with your backhand, you're so far behind the baseline that the ball takes time to travel to the opponent. The opponent will have enough time to get their feet set and move to the ball properly. So you gotta make sure you keep your ball deep, so they will be less inclined. They'll be less able to hit the shot. Even if they do, they're probably gonna miss it, or it's gonna be like a worse shot where you can like easily get to the ball and attack the other corner. Also, gotta make sure that if they use that shot, make sure you cover more to the middle. You cannot guard your backhand anymore if your opponent's doing this. You have to make sure you cover more to the middle, so when they go down the line, you'll be able to get there in time. You also slice. Slicing is incredibly useful. If you were to slice the ball to the backhand, it's low. It's very difficult to put pace on a slow ball, a slow, low ball. It is actually one of the hardest shots to put pace on. If you're able to do that, there is no chance they're going to hit down the line. They can hit down the line, but they have to lift it up. When they lift it up, that slows down the ball. And as a result, you can easily get there. And since Backhand on the line is actually one of the most important shots. You have to make sure that you hit the ball decently well. If you float the backhand line to the opponent's forehand, you're stuck on the backhand corner. They're to the forehand. Okay, they're to the forehand. They can just blast the ball cross court and you're absolutely cooked. The angle is going to go like off the court. You're going to have to go recover so much distance, right? So that's when you use a slice. You can literally, some people might overuse the shot. You can just bait them with like a slice. You bait them to lift the ball up down line. Then you go right when you run to the shot. You slap the forehand cross. Easy point. So I hope this helps. If this helped, do let me know in the comments down below. I always like to hear your thoughts. And thanks guys for watching.